Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. Today we will discuss about the outlay for defense sector in the union budget. With China undertaking military aggression at the border and the possibility of an armed conflict not ruled out, there was a lot of anxiousness regarding allocations for the defense sector in the general budget. There is a small hike of 1.4% in the overall defense budget, which includes pensions. The capital component has been increased by about 19%. So, what does it mean for the country's security, especially when there is a looming threat of war? We will try to analyze this in the agenda today with two top former army officials. We have with us retired Lieutenant General Gurmeet Singh, who was Deputy Chief of Army Staff, and retired Lieutenant General Vinod Bhatia, who was Director General of Military Operations. But before we begin our conversation, let's have a look at this small report.
The military standoff on the Ladakh border created by the Chinese aggression has escalated costs for the armed forces to the country substantially. In view of this, the allocation for the defense sector in the general budget was being watched with keen interest. At the end, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has earmarked rupees 4.78 lakh crore for the defense sector, which is a moderate hike of about rupees 6,000 crore or 1.4% over the last year's allocation. Some sections have raised questions over such a small hike for the defense sector in view of the continuing face-off and military deployment at the border, which has led to need for substantially increased purchases of military hardware and other items. However, the government says the capital component of the defense budget has been raised by nearly 19%, which is the highest ever increase in capital outlay for defense in 15 years. Sitharaman, when asked about the small hike in overall defense budget, said the armed forces had in the past 3 years been delegated financial powers, both revenue and capital, to fast-track procurement of defense items. She said the finance ministry has also accepted in principle the suggestion that non-lapsable funds should be provided for defense. This means the defense forces will not have to surrender unspent funds at the end of the financial year, a long-standing demand of the armed forces, which was also recently echoed in the recommendations of the 15th Finance Commission. In the recent past, the government has boosted spending on buying military hardware like fighter jets, tanks and warships, and building infrastructure like roads, bridges along the borders. Bureau Report.
Now let's welcome our guests, Lieutenant General Gurmeet Singh and Lieutenant General Vinod Bhatia. Welcome to the program, both of you, sir. So let me first go to General Gurmeet Singh about the budget allocations. We had discussed it earlier also. Now, how do you see the allocations for the defense sector?
Firstly, I would like to say that while giving this for the union budget, there was no mention of the defense aspect of it. But if you relate it to last years, this has been the pattern. And especially last year, while giving the speech on the union budget, there were only two sentences, and that was national security is priority for the nation.
Right.
And secondly, whenever the funds will be required, it will be given. I think it was very clear when initially they expressed the 6 pillars related to the budget, and they didn't put defense as one of it. So I think what is more important is, I think it's a commitment of the nation, and only facts and figures have come out of it, and in which we see that 4.78 lakh crore has been given, which is just an increase of 1.48. But if we relate to the defense budget minus the pension, then the increase is 7.34, where it has been given 3.62 lakh for the defense aspect of it. But categorically, if you look at the subheadings of the overall 4.78 crore lakh which is there, in the capital fund, they have given 1.35 lakh crore, which is increased. If we just see capital fund to capital fund, it is 18.75. But one thing is definite, that as a citizen and as a soldier, one is very happy that on the health sector, we have gone in for 137% increase, which is a substantial increase. And 13% of the union budget has gone to that. And that definitely, like what 2020 we've seen, health is a very important aspect of it. At the same time, the way we had the challenge from, still ongoing challenge from China, Pakistan, collusivity between China and Pakistan, and apart from that, the threat of terrorism, and also the aspiration for modernization, infrastructure development, technology infusion. So one expected a lot of visible growth. But I think we need to keep in mind that we have had 4 to 5 mini budgets in which money was allocated for the defense side. And we had seen that there was an emergency procurement. There was also an announcement for the Tejas aircraft, 48,000 crore. And also there was a mention about the funds which are to be made available for Atmanirbhar arena of 52,000 crore. So I think one thing is there, that it has been sub-allotted as per the requirement to the defense forces. But yes, if we look at only for the emotionally point of view, it's a very minimal increase. And it is only, I would say, it is 1.4% of the GDP, whereas when you analyze it from the defense aspiration point of view, aspiration was definitely from 2 to 2.5. But from that point of view, this chunk is little less. And last year also it was 15% of the union budget. But I think more importantly, we got to say that what is our primary national security threat and what we need to prepare to cater for. I think that is what is more important.
Right. So I'll come back to you and General Bhatia. First, your initial comments on the budget allocations. As you heard General Gurmeet also, what do you say on this? Is the allocation appropriate?
I mean, appropriate is a relative word.
No, relative in the present context when you are facing, as I mentioned, we have a challenge. We have an active challenge, not
Yeah, it is adequate but not appropriate. The reason is, we have to look at the well-being of our 1.38 billion people. We have to look at long-term economic development. And long-term economic development comes through peace and stability. Peace, stability, and long-term economic development. So there is a correlation between peace, stability, and economic development. And this budget focuses in a very big way on economic development, rightly so, because the well-being of people is very important. But having said that, let me also say that the China threat, the aggressiveness of China along the line of actual control, being the clear and present danger, General Gurmeet's board of collusivity, I'll go a step further. I think it's a collaborative threat from Pakistan and China both.
Right.
So we were actually expecting the aspirations for the armed forces were a little more. However, the armed forces should also be prepared. They are being tasked and expected to do more and more in less and less. So that is the challenge. It is one thing is the allocation of the budget, and second thing is the optimal utilization of the budget. These are mutually exclusive actually, because we do not even get to utilize the budget in an optimal manner. So that is where the challenge lies for the Ministry of Defence and for the armed forces to make sure that whatever allocations are there, they're optimally utilized. On the positive side, there's the positives before I come to the other thing. On the positive side, there's an increase in the outlay for the capital acquisition, which is a very good thing, and the increase is quite substantial at about 21,326 crores. And this is in addition to the 20,776 crores already allocated for emergent procurement during the year, which is additional. Right. So we are looking at about 40,000 crores, which is additional, which is also about 30% plus of the capital budget. The second positive is that somewhere I have read this, that they have now, Finance Ministry and Principal has agreed to carry on the budget, that the budget not lapse, the roll-on budget.
Non-lapsable.
Correct, non-lapsable. So that is a very good thing what happens, because not in the last 3 years, but years prior to that, we always found that we were not allowed to spend the complete budget. But this budget, which is increased, is good. It is good. 26% goes to the Navy, which is required. Another 24% increase goes to the Air Force. And Army gets about 18% of the share of the increased budget, or not overall, but the increased budget. So these are the positives. On the negative side, I think China and Pakistan both would be analyzing our defense budget in a very, and the speech like this. And they will find that the expectations were more. The only good thing I would say after that is that even last year, though the budget was less, but when we wanted it, the finances were made available.
Right.
So national security finances really made available as and when required. So we planned for 4.78 lakh crores as allocations, including the defense pensions. But if required, and the nation will definitely stand up, and more allocations will come around.
So, as General Gurmeet mentioned about that, among the 6 pillars, General Bhatt, I will ask you, among the 6 pillars, defense did not figure. So, but maybe I will play devil's advocate. Maybe the government did not want to hype this issue, the defense sector, not to make a hype, because since China is at our border or posing an active threat, so let us not hype the issue. Am I right in assessing that, General Bhatia?
Yes, you are right, and to an extent. But let me also say, we are a peace-loving nation. We are a responsible citizen nation. So we are looking at, the Prime Minister's motto, what he wants to saga, that is security for all, security and growth for all in the region. So we are responsible and peace-loving. So we are only looking at peace and stability and development. So that is how we are not going overboard on a military modernization, on a military budgets, on a defense spending. So it is a very considered decision to give the defense what is known as the capabilities and the military modernization needs, rather than going about beating our drums in the public and saying no, we are the second largest army, we can do this, and we can do that, especially in view of what is happening along our southern borders.
Right.
So I think it's a very considered decision, and it's a good decision.
So, General Gurmeet, I am come to you about, as I mentioned just now, that maybe the government did not want to make it hype it so that everybody like China would welcome it, or maybe make comment that India is preparing for war or whatever. I'm just saying. So, emotional aspect maybe has been removed from the budget. What do you say?
Maybe. When it is a matter is of the national security and it's a matter of defense, then it was very categorically, it was said in the last budget also that this is a national priority. This was also the commitment that whatever funds are required, they will be given. And we have seen it in 2020 that whatever emergency purchases had to be done, they have been done. And
Right.
they will be done in the coming time. But yes, if you look at only from the emotionality point of view, from the projection point of view, and from the reality point of view, if you compare it with China, if you look at officially, it is 179 billion US dollars was their defense budget last time. And if you go by the CIPRI, this thing, then it was more than 254 billion. And also, if you look only at the figure part of it, it was 30% of the Chinese budget. But then Chinese are one on whom we at least don't have any trust. They've been fudging their figures, and one really doesn't know how much they spend. But as far as we are concerned, we have a commitment of the government, of the nation to the security. And I'm definite about one aspect. You leave all emotionalities and all projections aside. One thing is there, that whatever money will be required for the defense of the nation, for the national security, it will be there.
Right.
We have seen it in 2020, and also prospective to prepare for the future warfare, to prepare for modernization, and also we have seen what chunk is being earmarked for the Atmanirbhar project. And also one felt very happy as a Indian and as a soldier that this time the focus was on infrastructure, focus was on MSMEs, and what really touched was that we have taken decision on non-performing assets. So these things, these ideas, I think this trend will also assist in the defense production and what we are wanting that the defense industry base should come up. And these decisions will definitely help in the nation to prepare for the national security.
So, General Gurmeet, when you refer to China's budget, it's huge. But if I compare, the aspirations of China and India are different. China is aspiring to be the global power. India doesn't have, at least militarily, those ambitions. So that is why maybe China is spending hugely on defense, and India is maybe making to do whatever is required, isn't it? Am I right?
Absolutely, Ajay. You are absolutely right. All the requirements are customized to your own requirements. It depends what your national interest. Depends on what is the core issues and what is the challenges you've got. Absolutely, we can't compare one to one with the China. They have got their own challenges. They have their own vulnerabilities and sensitivity. If you look at it, they got 14 land neighbors and 8 on the maritime conflict. Apart from that, they got a Cold War which is going with the US. But for us, we have to take care of the China threat and the Pakistan and China collusiveness, both LAC, LOC, terrorism, and also to ensure that the coming future warfare, we are ready and for the modernization which is a requirement and the transformation. For that, the technology will cost, R&D will cost, and we have to prepare our nation as a defense industrial base so that we produce indigenously. In fact, the lesson that we learned last 70 years is that to import 65% of your defense materials demand is not a good thing. We have to reduce it as a nation. And that's why I think the focus is on indigenous, Atmanirbhar, and that's why I think the 52,000 crore which has been earmarked for Atmanirbhar program. And also it was told categorically that 1.40 lakh crore is what the nation is going to ask the private industry to contribute towards the requirements of the defense forces.
Right.
So therefore, I find that it's a long-term perspective which is important, and definitely whatever the finances are required, nation will absolutely stand firm on that.
So, General Bhatia, as we mentioned about China's aspirations are different from India's aspirations. But at the same time, we need to have long-term strategic plan. For that, is the momentum of defense allocations appropriate if you see over a period of time? What do you say?
No, certainly more can be done. There's no doubt about it, because we have threats both external and internal, and we have to do more. It has to, the budget gives us planning parameters. More can be made available, but when more is made available, when we do emergent purchases, emergent procurement, we do it at a higher cost because these are faster procurements. The world knows that you need this equipment now, and definitely it comes at higher cost. But that's the opportunity cost we go to pay. The planning parameters is what we have to understand is the allocations, and the optimal utilization of the budget allocation is the challenge. We don't even get to optimally utilize it because we have a lot of legacy equipment, and the legacy equipment takes most of our revenue to make it sustainable, to make it serviceable, to make it effective in operations. So we have, honestly, we have suffered about 8 to 10 years of when we did not have any procurement whatsoever in the last decade and early part of this decade also. So we are carrying that, and this cannot happen over a year or 2 years. This has to be there's a long-term perspective plan already approved in place, and that long-term perspective plan has to be revised, reviewed, and acted upon. The previous long-term perspective plan is a major review right now, and that has to also factor in the adequacy of the allocations. So that adequacy allocations, and we should not have we have to look at about a 3 to 5 years a budget allocation for a capital procurement. It cannot be year on year, because as I see it, I may be wrong totally, but as I see it, most of our capital procurement, capital budget allocation will go on committed liabilities. We have platforms which are coming in. We have committed liabilities which have to be fulfilled. And we also have to look at Atmanirbhar. We cannot be importing 64-65% of weapon and say strategic autonomy, and we are military a military power. No, we can't be a military power without being Atmanirbhar or self-reliant in defense manufacturing, which is very important. So we have to take the R&D along. We'll have to take the defense sector along. We have to take the industry along, all stakeholders along. So there are reforms required, and the reform is coming in. Over the years, one of the biggest concern was as I said, the authority and accountability were not aligned. The accountability was with the services chiefs, and the authority was the Ministry of Defence. With the appointment of the Chief of Defence Staff, especially as the ex-officer secretary of the Department of Military Affairs, some of this are corrected. But if you look at the charter duties now also, the procurement, the capital procurement continues to be with the Defence Secretary and not with the DMA. So there is a question of, inward reforms, I would say reforms, but taking things along. Also, very good policy changes have come about. The fast track has started moving. There are very good policy changes come about. But the policy changes are not supported by the processes and the procedures which remain lengthy and lethargic. So someone has to, sit down and go into the procedures processes also.
Right.
And at the end of the day, if we can get the best out of every rupee allocated, I think that is the challenge, and not the sums alone, which is the main thing. Spending it correctly, spending it rightly, spending effectively, as per our priorities, as per requirements, in a given manner.
And timely also. Timely also.
Timely also. Absolutely. Cost over and time over. Absolutely right.
So, General Bhatt, as both of you mentioned about emergency purchase will be always there. But I see emergency purchase as knee-jerk reaction. Whenever there is a crisis, you go for emergency purchase. So, that's why I'm stressing on long term. Like China, if you compare, China prepares for maybe 30 years down the line. Should we also do that?
Yes, we should try to do that, but we have competing priorities at national level. We cannot deny it. And the competing priorities at national level, we will be always, our aspiration will always be more than what we get allocated. So to that, we should have no doubts about it. So emergency purchases, no nation, including the United States of America, anyone, they can keep all their arsenal as they want it. So there will be emergency procurement as and when the need arises.
No,
so
there will be emergency purchase. I'm not ruling out, but that can be a small component. But we cannot be. I mean, if we see Kargil war, we had to go for emergency purchases for even the ammunition for the Bofors. So that's what I'm saying. So we have to have a contingency plan for maybe 10 years, 20 years down the line. General Gurmeet, what do you say on that?
Absolutely, Ajay, that's a very good pointing out by you. I think what we need to do is a long-term perspective. And what is very nice is that we are going on for a 5-year modernization plan, and we are going for a package of 2-year non-lapsable. What happens is actually whatever has been allocated is needed. So it's getting lapsed is something which is not acceptable. And I'm very happy about one aspect that now as a nation, as the armed forces, we are all integrated under the CDS, and so they are able to lay down the priority interstate of the armed forces and also see the long-term perspective. We have a system as a long-term perspective plan which has been prepared, and I totally agree with you. We got to go in a very organized way to ensure that for long-term perspective, we have our defense industrial base created, we have within the country's MSMEs encouraged, and we have to ensure that we have the infrastructure, technology and R&D base to produce the things for our requirement. The national security and the requirements for the armed forces cannot be dependent upon the foreign assistance. We cannot be victim to the sanctions and the controls by others. So I think as a nation it's a challenge, and we are going very well about this aspect of it. One thing you would see that in 2020 we learned a big lesson. We didn't have a base for producing PPE for the COVID, and we didn't have the base
so General,
at the end of it.
So General Gurmeet, you are saying the same thing. I am saying we react to a situation. When there is an emergency situation, then we rise to the occasion. Why not to have preparations in advance? That is my point.
Very good, Ajay. In fact, that's the point. That's the point what has been learned in 2020. You cannot trust your enemies and the way our enemies are. And this is a lesson which has been learned.
Not only enemies, so-called friends who pretend to be friends like China.
Absolutely. In fact, I think now 2020 has taught that we don't have to flow in the diplomatic languages of saying our neighbor in the north or our neighbor in the west. I think one thing is very clear, that the national security primary threat is from China. And now what has emerged in 2020 even more prominently, although it was there, but the Pakistan-China cohesiveness, I think that is what is the threat to us, and we got to ensure that we have the capability, capacity and the skill to counter it. Apart from that, we have got certain red lines to achieve. That red lines are POK, Gilgit-Baltistan and Aksai Chin. And that will demand that our entire capability profile, our equipment profile, and what needs to be done as a preparedness and op readiness must be ready. And I 100% agree with you. It has to be done on the long-term perspective in a very organized. It can't be knee-jerk.
Right.
It can't be emergent route. It has got to be absolutely
So,
on a planned footing.
In this regard, I had to ask General Bhatia, since he was involved in that. General Bhatia, we discussed earlier about also that Mountain Strike Corps. See, if we had prepared at that time, as you mentioned, that we didn't have budget at that time, so maybe we could have faced the China threat in a much better way. General Bhatia, what do you say?
Yes, sir. Yes, I think that was one thing now we have realized. Mountain Strike Corps was sanctioned in July of 2013. The allocations were never given, and the army started, from within. And that is sharing poverty. We did not work out, and then it was, in a way shelved. We did not carry on with it. But today, if you see, we have recovered, we have recouped, and we have a Mountain Strike Corps, and we are also doing, a little more than that. By dual tasking our other formations, which was always there. It was there earlier also, but more focus is given to that.
No, I'm sure.
Yes,
I'm sure we rise to the occasion. That I know. But I'm saying if we had done it maybe 10 years down in the past, maybe we could have faced the China threat in a better manner. What do you say?
Absolutely. The Mountain Strike was sanctioned in 2030. So that is, and it was an 8-year plan. We would have finished all the raises of Mountain Strike for 2020 by March of 2020. And had we done that, and had the events unfolded the way unfolded in May of 2020, we would have a Mountain Strike Corps which was a sudden being, which was a deterrent. So maybe things would have changed. Maybe things would have.
That is why I am emphasizing that point. That is why, General Bhatia,
you're right. You're absolutely right. Things may have changed, but very, very easy to sit back and say.
So again, it comes back. It comes back to the long-term planning, long-term allocations. That again, it comes back to that point. General Bhatia, what do you say?
It comes back to the availability of resources, the money. We have competing for national level. We have the health sector, the education sector. We have the agriculture sector. So many sectors we taken care of. So we have to have a very judicious balance in the defense budget. And but we have to understand that without security, economic development will always be lopsided.
Right.
We will spend more on the thing. So we have to have a very balanced sort of allocations in the budget. And we should go as per the plan, as a long-term plan. The integrated long-term perspective plans are there. And the government should have a commitment to the integrated long-term perspective plan.
Right.
And it should not be year-on-year budgets. Like it's been now 2 years non-taxable. But by 2 years, then to say that we will give allocations. If we have to give allocations, and this is not the first time when for emergency procurement, we've done emergency procurement earlier also. It is better to have, what we call minimum requirements in all, domains fulfilled. And we're looking at new domains. We have to explore technology.
So point
there
again.
There are a lot of road to be covered, lot of work to be done, and I'm sure it'll get done.
So a lot of road to be covered, and I guess as you both agree that there has to be a long-term strategic planning. But unfortunately, the time of this program is over. So we had to close. So thank you both of you for participating in this debate today.
Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another important topic tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.